everyone, I'm Sarai, one of your K-drama hangout reviewers.
Hi everybody, my name is Melody.
Hi guys, I'm Kat.
Hey you guys, welcome back. This week's episodes were really sad and put me all up in my feels, made me cry so much. And for OMG moments this week, I don't really have an exact moment that stood out because everything was just in your feels this week. But there were two characters who I really felt bad for, and I'll just name them. Number one is Minho, Heeja's son. And just because everything that he was going through in these two episodes really made me feel for him and for what's happening in his life, because he's also having a baby, and it's just like he has some good moment in his life, and then he finds out about his mother, and so now he has something really happy to think about, but also something really sad to think about, and just his ups and downs of wanting to help his mom was really had me all up in the feels this week. Then the second character I want to say is Brother Joseph. He really made me want to cry a lot for all his scenes this week. I felt so bad for him, especially because he really, truly cares about Heeja, and to be the first to find out about this and to have to be the man and kind of take charge of the whole situation and figure out what to do, when to tell the kids, those kinds of things. It's difficult, and that kind of situation is hard to deal with, especially with someone that you truly care about and you love even after all these years. So my heart went out to those two characters this week, and their moments were my very sad moments.
So, for me personally, I didn't have just one specific favorite character reaction, and even to say that I was my favorite character reaction is kind of depressing since these past two episodes are so sad. The moment that everything has kind of stood out to me is when at the end, when Wan's just kind of talking about how she was selfish with her emotions, I guess the process of emotions that she went through, how it was kind of selfish of her to only think about, well, what is she supposed to do now, how she's supposed to still be with her boyfriend, her fiance, whatever they are now. I feel like in that moment I realized that that's how I would have been, and again throughout this whole entire process I've always said how this is so realistic, how it can relate to my life, how it has related to my life, and I feel like at that moment is when it really clicked to me, just kind of seeing how she was reacting, how she was dealing with everything, how she was processing with everything. It's kind of put into stone how I realized how I would be reacting in that situation. So that's this week's character reaction for me. Hopefully next week won't be as sad. We can only hope.
So the topic for this week is just the general feel about the entire two episodes based upon, or not based upon, but in comparison to the general feel of the previous episodes, and like accepting things in life, accepting things happening. I mean, we all know that we're aging, right? Like everybody, every day, at least once a year, you think about it, I'm getting older, I'm getting older. And even through the rest of the previous episodes, they would always say things like, oh, at our age, you can't be too careful. At our age, you have to carry these medicines everywhere you go. At our age, da-da-da-da. So they all knew they were getting older. But I feel like these last two episodes was really like where it really hits that you really are getting older, and people who are your lifelong friends are developing dementia, and like there's a difference between always talking about something and then it finally hitting you and it finally settling in that you're at that age where you have to worry daily about your friends. Did they wander out of the house last night?
These two, how can I say? Okay, these two episodes, as you said, were a lot to carry. It's like a heavy load. Both these episodes revealed two major secrets that dealt with the health of two of the main characters, and it was like back to back. So I felt what like everyone else was feeling. Like I could feel like, wow, like, oh my gosh, really? And it's funny because on a I guess not so serious note, like as far as health or death goes, but I feel like we deal with those kinds of situations every day where, not every day, but almost all the time, where we like deal with some event or some occurrence that we know is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're like, oh yeah, well, yeah, it's going to happen. Yeah, whatever. But then when it officially comes to realization in our minds, then it's when it sinks in, when the reality fully sinks in and we're like, oh, wait, that is happening, you know? And so it becomes a different way of thinking now. At first, it was kind of like casual, but then now it's like, wow. And I feel like that's what's happening with the characters too, because they're like, we're gonna die, all of us were gonna die, and then they joke about it, hee hee ha ha, but then this happens, and then it finally sinks in that we are eventually all gonna die. So it becomes real to them, and it became really real to me, and I started thinking about how sad everyone was, and I was crying, and oh my gosh, this like brought all the feels. Like I swear, I felt like I was crying for a really long time.
I really am. The more I think about it, the more I am just really impressed and happy about this drama and that we chose to do this drama.
Oh, me too. I feel like it's so underrated though. Like
I do too.
that makes me so sad because it's a drama I would completely recommend, and I just feel like because it has veteran actors, the younger K-pop converted and K-drama converted group is leaning more toward the younger generation things and not appreciating the older generation things, but it is so good. And I mean, to tell you the truth, I was excited to watch this drama. I really was, because I appreciate the older actors because they were like the Ajishis, the Ajumas, the Harmonis in these other shows that I watch. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I saw you. You're in
they're main characters in this one, they're not just the Ajishi.
Yeah. So, and they're not just like the evil mother-in-law who wants to sell you off for money or, like they're actually going through emotions and feelings, and we get to see like them play a role that's so like a main character. It made me really happy to find a drama this unique.
I predict that something is going to interfere with one going back to Yonha, because that was a problem in the past, and they kind of alluded back to him saying, if you don't come to me this time, I'm really going to kill you, like somehow in some way I feel like for the second time, and even if it's uncontrollable circumstances like cancer, that's not something that she can control. But for the second time, her mom's going to interfere with, her mom's going to, and again, not purposely, her mom's not purposely keeping her from him, but, something's going to happen with her mom and she's not going to be able to go to Yonha.
I don't know. I have this weird feeling, maybe this is my prediction, I don't know. But I have this weird feeling that something really bad's going to happen, like a death or something. I don't know why I have that feeling. It would probably make the story even better with an ending, with a good ending, because it might show life, real life, which would be nice. But at the same time, I'm kind of worried because I'm like, if someone dies, who's going to die? And I would
Yeah,
bad if it's
that's been crossing my mind too. I don't want to say I expect it because that sounds really morbid, but I kind of do expect it to end in some, or maybe it's not the end. Really, okay, if we're going to be honest about it, it's probably going to be like in the last episode, somebody dies. Okay, somebody dies in the last episode, and then in the last 5 minutes, we'll have a little thing at the bottom of the screen that says, 3 years later, and you'll see the characters moving on with life.
I think what might happen, how they might end it, is that since she's writing this book, if someone dies, then she'll probably end that person's chapter or the book with their death, and then they'll forever be known as like this wonderful person, and their life will live through the book,
Yeah, that's
so
what.
at the end, maybe her book is like sold, and people are reading
She's
about her.
having a book signing or something.
Yeah, and like the story's unfolding, like people are reading about the person who died story.
Yeah,
And so that person is still living even though they're not physically.
exactly.
All right, you guys, that's the end of this week's review. If you like it, give us a thumbs up. Be sure to share with your friends. And if you want to follow any of us reviewers, you will always find our links down below. Next week is the final review of this show. So we're wondering, how's it going to end? Hopefully, if you have any thoughts or comments, please put them down below. We want to hear what your predictions are for the last 2 episodes. As always, you guys, keep it dramatic. Bye. See you next week.
Bye.